Today on DNVR Buffs Live, it's Spirit Week here at DNVR. We explain that and how you can help us donate to charity, which is pretty darn cool. And we dive into how Domata Peko is already helping the Buffs build or rebuild one of the most important pipelines in college football. Let's get it. Let's go!
Squad! DNVR Buffs Live. We are here from the Toyota Lounge. It's your boy, Scotty D Pockets, alongside my guy, RK. How we feeling, my boy? Spirit Week. You feel full of spirit right now, bro?
I feel so full of spirit. It's crazy. Speaking of Spirit Week, of all days to have Spirit on the set, we probably should have got her out.
Low-key.
But we got a whole week.
Hell yeah.
Got a whole week. Really cool thing we're doing
Definitely
this week. Obviously, we have our favorite DNVR t-shirt day today. So I got on my Travis Hunter Heisman, whatever you want to call this. One of the coolest shirts I think we've ever done. The gold foil just gets me every time. Like, look at that thing just shimmer. Yeah.
Not to mention that it is literally an artifact.
It is.
20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, that's going to mean a whole lot more than it does even right now.
I make a lot of shirt purchases based off of the off chance that my kids might be into the same thing that I'm in one day.
I think there's a good chance of that.
Yeah. And if one of my kids is like a huge Buffs fan and they're like going to, like, they go to CU.
Yeah.
And then I unveil the vintage CU shirt collection.
Bro. They're automatically going to be cool as hell to all their friends. Like, damn, bro, how'd you get all of this, bro?
Yeah, so that's one of the reasons why I love this one. You got your Colorado versus everybody?
Hell yeah, bro. I think this is maybe the most factually correct shirt in the DNVR store. I mean, this is like so true. And like, obviously coming from Chicago, the Midwest in general, like Colorado as a state just isn't really on a lot of people's radar right there. But like, as soon as I got out here, I was quickly learned how much this is true. Colorado versus specifically the football team led by Coach Prime. I mean, whether it was, CSU or Nebraska for obvious reasons, or like even UCF with like the graphic, you remember with the shark and like that whole thing, the Texas Tech thing with the shirt and the flag.
Oh, God.
It seemed like every damn week last season there was something going on or some type of beef that another program or fan base had with Colorado. And a lot of times, Jake saying it, especially Colorado versus everybody, is very true.
You're so right about the graphic. I don't know, like, I wasn't on the post-game show or the pre-game show that week because I was at that wedding.
For UCF, right? Yeah.
But so I don't know how in-depth you guys went to it, but like, it was certainly, the timing was not great, but it would not have gained any steam if it was any team but Colorado.
Exactly, because it obviously wasn't intentional, And
it wasn't like direct.
No,
Super indirect, but
not at all.
Whatever, we don't have to relitigate old cases.
No, for real.
But one thing I just want to mention is this week, all Super Chats are going to be going to the Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, a program that we are very, very proud to be partnered with. And we're going to be doing a lot of different initiatives to raise money. So all this week, instead of hitting the Super Chat button, you actually hit the donate button. And that's how we make it so that, and that's how YouTube has us doing it so that YouTube won't take a cut.
Right.
Everything that we raise this week, everything that you guys pledge when you hit that donate button is going to the Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, and we're doing this across all of ALLCITY.
Yep.
So something that we're obviously proud to be doing, and we know that you guys are going to help us raise a bunch of money for them.
Yeah, we're raising money for Big Brothers or Big Sisters all week, every day this week. We got a goal of at least 10,000, but we're hoping to smash right through that. And with everybody's help out there, I think we'll definitely have a good chance to do that and do something really meaningful here together this week. So we're happy about our partnership, and we're happy it's Spirit Week, but let's hop into things a little bit, huh?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Obviously, we know about Colorado's new defensive line coach. Domata Peko hired a couple months ago, earlier this offseason. And we've talked about a decent amount just about his potential impact on the recruiting side of things. And we've already seen that impact play itself out in the fact that Colorado's first 2026 recruit is literally Domata Peko Jr., the number one ranked JUCO edge in the 2026 class. He's already in the fold as a Colorado Buffalo commit, but there has been some news come out this weekend related to Domata Peko that should have Buffs fans pretty excited, specifically about this pipeline that we talked about, right? This potential California pipeline to Colorado, this potential Polynesian pipeline to California, which obviously Domata Peko is very much, involved with. Joseph Peko, Domata's other son, the brother of, Domata Peko Jr., he tweeted on Friday that he has locked in his official visit to Colorado. So he will be in Boulder here soon, potentially, I believe this week. Another 3-star recruit, 6'3", 310 pounds, out of California. Colorado is currently battling Bill Belichick in North Carolina for Joseph Peko's commitment. Those are the top 2 schools in Peko's recruitment. But like we mentioned, a Colorado visit has been set up, has been locked in. Julian Lewis was underneath Peko's post saying lock in, with the buff emoji or whatnot. So Juju is obviously trying to get Peko involved here. But this would obviously be another great add to this 2026 class, adding, the son of somebody who was a dog in the NFL and somebody who is currently a dog in the high school ranks in Joseph Peko. So that was pretty big, massive news over the weekend here.
Yeah, and this is something we talked about, Jake and I, especially from the very beginning of the Coach Prime era. But it's about Colorado being a destination for sons of former players.
Facts.
And we've already seen it. Carter Stoutmeyer is an example of this. The list goes on of players on this current team. The Mathis brothers. But like I said, we've been talking about it from the beginning. It's really stood out to me over the last couple of years what that does. And you're already seeing it with like Shedeur in the pros and however, wow, he's so professional and this, that, and the other. And it's like, he's had an example to look at his entire life of how to handle business as a football player. And I told this to anyone who would listen in the draft process, like Shedeur prepared more professionally than any player I've ever been around at the college level. Mm-hmm. And that just continues, you can't have enough of that.
Right.
You can't have too much of that. You're always going to be chasing after these players who have that example. Pat Surtain on the Broncos is another example of a guy who got into the NFL already being a pro. There was no big curve or anything like that.
No doubt.
And at the college level, there's even a bigger gap between the guys who are handling themselves like pros and the guys who are being college kids. And when your dad's on the staff, it makes you even held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
But regardless, I just love this pipeline, first and foremost, of sons of former players who are going to come in and have positive role models throughout their entire life of how to handle yourself at this level.
For sure. I mean, that's a great point. And it's not just that you had somebody to look up to from a young age of somebody who was in the NFL doing it, but somebody like Domata Peko, who is like a leader in the locker room, like a locker room leader, like one of the most respected guys in the entire football organization for multiple franchises, for the Bengals, obviously for a long time, his short tenure in Denver as well, Baltimore as well, Arizona as well. So he is very much respected everywhere he has gone, and it's kind of carried over to his coaching career here in Colorado as well. We mentioned, so Joseph Peko is visiting starting today through Wednesday, and there's a pretty big group of guys visiting Colorado here starting this week alongside Peko. Another guy who we've talked about recently on the show is Manoa Falpusa. He is another defensive tackle from California, 6'3", 300-plus pounds, a 3-star. He locked in a visit. Obviously, he is in Colorado, in Boulder here, starting this week. But this is somebody who we talked about with Manoa, who has talked about the fact that Domata Peko played a big role in his kind of upbringing as a football player. He told Adam Mustang-Tiger, our guy at 24/7 Sports at Buff Stampede, just a couple weeks ago that he was very ecstatic about receiving an offer from Colorado, especially with it being Coach Peko who offered me. Growing up, I would always watch his highlights and try to mirror my game after him. So that was a special moment for me. Colorado has definitely made a big impression on me, just knowing what really great players they have on their coaching staff, especially guys that have been where I want to go. But places like the University of Arizona and, again, University of North Carolina also stand out to me. So Fopusa has actually already put out a top 5 a couple weeks ago. That included Colorado. That included Arizona. That included North Carolina. I believe Oklahoma State as well. And I believe Utah was the 5th school. So Fopusa clearly, has an affinity for Coach Peko. And he is locked in. Again, he is in Boulder here this weekend alongside Joseph Peko, alongside Domata Peko Jr. and a couple other guys that we're going to talk about here. But adding those trenches, that defensive line, those Polynesian boys from Cali, this is, I think, really what this program really needed. And Peko is already doing his part in adding that.
I love it. And 2 things here. One, I love hearing players talk about watching Peko directly.
Yeah.
Because, obviously Coach Prime, you get their parents, right? Their parents are telling their kids like how amazing Coach Prime was.
Right.
Marshall Faulk, maybe a little bit, later in the process, but still going to be like someone's dad telling them, oh, you got to see these Marshall Faulk highlights. With Domata Peko, he's on the younger side, so these guys actually did get a chance to watch him while they're growing up, and it's just like a fun new element to this professional atmosphere that they're creating at Colorado, to have a younger guy who these defensive linemen could have actually seen. The second part of this is the Polynesian pipeline, which we've talked about a little bit since the hire of Domata Peko, but I'll just reiterate, it's part of the fabric of Colorado's greatness. You go through any magical season in Colorado history, and you're going to find players with Polynesian roots.
Wow.
Sefo Lufau, most recently being a legendary Colorado quarterback who led them on that rise season. Friend of the program, Jordan Dizon, coming from Hawaii. You go back, Chris Naoli, like the list goes on and on. Sal Anesi.
Yep.
The Polynesian pipeline has been a huge part of Colorado and a huge part of college football. We often talk about like watching Utah play.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, they got some grown men out there on those lines. A lot of times you're talking about the Polynesian guys. They've been pumping Polynesian players into the NFL for a while now. And like, Starlo Tulele, like some of these just beasts coming from the Polynesian Islands and Hawaii as well. And obviously California and just the background. But there's like, you talk about different parts of the country, different parts of the world where players are coming from. And like Coach Prime obviously hits heavily on Florida.
Yeah.
And there's a certain type of player that you get from Florida,
For sure.
A lot of times Coach likes to talk about the dog in them, but it's also like South Florida produces tons of speed. And it's like when you think of Polynesian, you're thinking toughness, work ethic, and size.
Yes.
And when you are able to really open up that pipeline and start bringing guys in here, you're going to get beasts, true beasts that I think are an important kind of ingredient to building a powerhouse college football program, especially in this half of the country.
It's big physical football players is really what you typically think of. And we're going to give a really good example, I think, on the other side of this break of what we really think about when we think of these Polynesian great football players like Domata Peko. But let's take our first break here. Shout out to the squad over at First Bank,
First Bank.
Let's get it. Whether you're on the road, at home, or maybe even somewhere in between, because after all, it is the summer. First Bank makes banking so easy, so convenient, and most importantly, so secure. Their mobile banking app allows you to check balances, you can pay friends, and you can manage your money anytime, anywhere. But this is the best part right here, y'all. If you open a new First Bank checking account today, you could earn $300. First Bank is all about helping you stay on track. Their tools make it simple to stay in control of your finances without the hassle. So no matter where life takes you, First Bank gives you the freedom to bank how and when it works best for you. So if you're ready for better banking and the chance to earn a little extra, head over to efirstbank.com/bonus. That's efirstbank.com/bonus to open your account. Bank how you want, when you want with First Bank. Certain restrictions and requirements apply. Member FDIC.
Shout out to our friends over at FanStake. FanStake ranks the activity from fan bases across all college sports.
Yeah.
Colorado's 5th right now.
We can do better.
And that just doesn't sit right with me. Because if you think back to like the Heisman vote, the online Heisman vote, like Colorado fans dominated that.
No doubt.
Anytime it comes to an online contest, our fan base shows up and shows out. And might I remind you that FanStake gives you $25 free. You don't even have to attach a credit card to your account. You're just getting $25 to pledge towards anyone. So if everyone that's listening to this right now goes and signs up for FanStake, again, don't even have to attach a credit card. You're going to get $25 to put towards any player you want. You can put it towards keeping guys around like Julian Lewis and Draylen Miller and Jordan Seaton, or you can put it towards bringing guys in like some of the guys we've talked about on this show and are going to talk about moving forward. So let's get our numbers up. At the very least, I expect us to be top 3 by the time the season rolls around.
At least.
So let's not mess around. Shout out FanStake. Again, $25 when you use the code DNVR over at fanstake.com.
Y'all heard the man. Let's get those numbers up. Shout out to FanStake. But let's talk a little bit more about Domata Peko. Like, I feel like we've done a decent job of, like, you know, illustrating the type of player Domata Peko is and the type of impact he can have on Colorado. But we got a video here, and I just came across this, like, the type of player, dude, that Coach Peko was. 16 seasons in the NFL. Doing stuff like this to Troy Polamalu,
Speaking
bruh.
of Polynesians.
For real. Like, I saw this recently, and obviously this is from years ago. I mean, that's Domata Peko, defensive lineman, lining up at fullback, putting the pads on a Pro Football Hall of Fame safety, one of the best safeties ever. In the I mean, that's physicality right there. It wasn't just the 600 plus tackles or the 20 sacks in his career. It was doing stuff like this, doing whatever it took, offense, defense, to help your team score points and win games. Like, that's kind of what I think of when I think of Domata Peko, like that type of physicality. And if we got a video, we got another video here we can show of someone we were just talking about, Manoa Falpusa, kind of playing a similar spot. Big fella, 6'3", 300 plus pounds, lining up at fullback. Like, might be hard to see there, but you see that big fella running away with that ball in his hand after scoring a touchdown. Like, that's the type of thing I think Peko can, like, potentially unlock in one of these guys, or like, because that's a valuable role. Obviously, Colorado struggled a little bit in that this past year, in the red zone, in tight, short yardage, goal line situations. Like, this could be a weapon that Coach Peko could potentially help coach and unlock. And whether it be Falpusa or maybe another guy, is there a guy on this team that you would like to see in that role currently? Just bring him in, first and goal, fullback.
Jaheim Otis. Quincy Wiggins.
Yeah. I feel like there's a handful of good candidates who could potentially play that role.
But, Quincy Wiggins, obviously like a 6'6" frame.
Yeah.
That Peko video, the thing that stood out the most to me is his pad level.
Oh.
Like, that's something you obviously learn playing on the interior of defensive line, like low man wins.
Low man wins every time.
But he gets Troy Polamalu, who's obviously much shorter and smaller than him, in the numbers with his shoulder pads, which is not easy to do, especially with Troy being, in a tackling position the way he was. And that's just teach tape right there for a fullback, for a linebacker, for anyone, showing and proving that you can get lower than your opponent. And when you do, your force is going to be a lot more impactful.
100%. And another thing, Domata Peko started his college career before going to Michigan State in the JUCO ranks, just like his son, who committed to Colorado here now in the 2026 class. Domata Peko Jr. starting his career at the JUCO ranks before coming over to Colorado. This is seems like a pathway that they see feasible of getting from the JUCO ranks to the NFL.
Christian Hudson is a good one.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, literally called himself Baby Sap. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's for sure. we got some more visitors coming today. There's another guy, a 4-star defensive tackle. Again, I'm gonna need some help potentially on this name, but Tufanua Ionatana Umakais. His nickname is T.I., so we're going to go with that.
Yeah.
We're going to go with T.I. Again, a 4-star guy from right here, actually, in Colorado. Goes to Cherry Creek High School from Englewood, Colorado. Again, a 4-star defensive tackle, 6'3", 307 pounds. According to Greg Biggins at 24/7 Sports, his scouting report, he's on the short list when talking about the top overall player in the state for the 2026 class. He projects as a classic nose guard who could also play the 3-tech, but is a surefire interior lineman who can do some damage. He has the body mass to take on a double team, hold his ground, and still get a push up the field. A naturally strong player who plays a power game. You can't move him, and he shows some pass rush ability as well. This sounds like a young Domata Peko of the ilk of these, Polynesian, kind of dogs on the interior defensive line. T.I. would be another great add, and again, kind of similar to the Deacon Schmidt vein, wanting to keep your best in-state talent here in the state of Colorado as best as you can.
Absolutely. And coming from a program in Cherry Creek, and we haven't gotten a chance to talk about this a lot just because in-state recruiting has been a little bit dry recently. Yeah. But Cherry Creek, a program led by Dave Logan, who's arguably, like I was thinking about this the other day, like the most dynamic Colorado sports figure ever. A guy who was drafted in 2 sports, football and baseball. A guy who played for the Buffs, has his name up in the stadium, I believe. Drafted in 2 sports, becomes the best high school coach in Colorado history. Arguably, there's some other great names in there, but certainly the best current one, and on a 25-year generational run of that title, all the while being the voice of the Denver Broncos on the radio.
It's a legendary resume right there.
He's done everything there is to do in Colorado sports, and so another one who great role model for these guys, does a great job of getting them prepared. Arden Walker, a product of Dave Logan. You want to talk to him about what a great coach he is. He'll tell you. So I guess the way I'm drafted in 3 sports, some are saying.
That'd be crazy.
What I'm trying to say is, like, coming from a program you can trust.
Yeah.
And a coach who's done an incredible job out here.
No doubt. And then just following up, lastly, on T.I. was visited Washington about a week and a half ago. Was coming off a visit to Bill Belichick in North Carolina. It really seems like Bill Belichick is really targeting these Polynesian guys as well in this 2026 class. Not surprised there. T.I. is here in Boulder right now for a visit, and he's visiting Colorado State later this week. So we'll see about that in T.I.'s future. But we got another guy, a 3-star edge who's visiting Colorado this week. This is a fire name, Isaiah Tokyo.
Nice.
An edge.
I wish Jake was here for all these names today.
Same, man. Listed as a linebacker, but it seems to be like more of an outside linebacker edge. Tagged George Hilo, or I think Hilo was the one who offered him. But when Tokyo this morning announced that he was visiting Colorado, he added 3 people in the tweet. He added CU Buffs football, which makes sense. He added Domata Peko, which makes a lot of sense. You'll just literally, I can give you 1,005 guesses. You would never be able to guess his third at.
And it's a Colorado related.
No, it's not. That's why
okay.
you would just never guess. The third at on this tweet announcing his Colorado visit is 2 Chainz.
Hell yeah.
I don't get it, but I'll rock with it.
Maybe,
shout out Isaiah Tokyo.
Maybe he went to a 2 Chainz concert recently. 2 Chainz was like, yo, you got to get with Coach Prime. Like, what are you doing?
Maybe. Or maybe him and Coach Peko are boys, you never know. But yeah, again, a 3-star edge outside linebacker from Colorado, Oceanside to be specific, from California, not Colorado. He is also in Boulder for a visit alongside a couple other guys, 2 offensive linemen, 2 3-star offensive linemen. One name is Trip Skews. We talked about him a little bit. He's also from Denver, Kent High School, 6'7", 300 plus pounds, offers from K-State, Vanderbilt, North Carolina, again, Texas Tech as well. He's on campus right now alongside another 3-star offensive lineman. His name is Xavier Payne, another 6'7" offensive lineman, 320 plus pounds. This kid, Xavier Payne, is currently committed to Florida State. He's been committed to Florida State since December, but he is on campus in Boulder right now as Colorado and the recruiting staff try to flip him from the Seminoles. So that is at least 6 guys who are on campus right now in Boulder for an official visit. Obviously, one of them being, 2026 commit, Domata Peko Jr., but Joseph Peko, T.I., Valpusa, those other 3 guys that I just mentioned are all on campus right now for a pretty big recruiting weekend here in the middle of June.
Yeah, this is big. This could be a real Kickstarter to the 2026 class. Obviously got a couple names in there, but this could really get the ball rolling.
Yeah, we could look back on this as like the Peko weekend of recruiting. You know what I'm saying? If a couple of these dominoes really truly fall, and I would say that I like their standing with at least half of those guys that we talked about for sure, if not more.
Someone in the comments said who will be the next big splash commit. Do you have a prediction of who would be the next to jump in?
The next commit. So that'd be somebody saying that I'm committed to Colorado. I feel like it wouldn't be somebody we're talking about today, but potentially somebody we've talked about maybe extensively over the last, I would say, month on the offensive side of the ball. Potentially a skill position player. I would keep an eye on that.
Okay, that's a good tease.
Yeah.
I'm going to call for Joseph Peko to pledge his commitment this weekend.
I like that.
Or this week.
Speaking of, let's just throw that up. If you can throw up that tweet from Coach Box, Logan. Coach Box tweeted this morning, 8:39 a.m. What do you think that means?
It feels like it has some Polynesian connections.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Seems that way. I don't know if Coach Box, got word or something, but clearly he is feeling the Polynesian spirit on this here Monday morning on June 16th.
Hell yeah.
So we love to see that. Shout out to Coach Box, Coach Phillips, the rest of the recruiting staff. And our recruiting staff is busy. They're busy, obviously, today and the rest of this week, but they had some visitors just this past weekend. A handful of guys, 4 guys visited this past weekend. We got some photos of these guys who were visited this past weekend. We'll see who comes up first. This is a Monte Timms, defensive back, cornerback, safety, a 3-star, I believe. A really good player. He is crystal ball to. He's not the crystal ball, but offers from Louisville, Miami, Georgia, Colorado as well. 6 foot, 195 pounds. Defensive back from down there in Florida, Seffner, Florida. Never heard of Seffner, but played multiple spots in the defensive backfield for Armwood High School down there in Florida.
Tall. What's his
6 foot and a half? So okay. 6 foot and a half, 6'1". That was DeMonte Timms. We got another one here. This is Kobe Johnson, a linebacker out of Washington, Sammamish, Washington, Eastlake High School. Offers from San Diego State, Arizona, Fresno State, and obviously Colorado as well. He was in Boulder for a visit this weekend. Who we got next year?
Picture on the left is tough.
I agree. And this is a dog right here. This is Daniel Norman, an edge from Lauderdale, Florida, St. Thomas Aquinas High School. I'm sure you've heard of that. If you really know ball. He's been crystal ball to Miami, but here he is with Coach Hilo. We got Alexander McPherson creeping in on the left there. We got London Merritt creeping in on the right. So a couple of Hilo's young dogs in that edge room. 2 freshmen.
Yeah.
Helping out on the recruiting tip to get another dog added to that edge room. Daniel Norman is 6'4", 205 pounds, offers from UCLA, Miami. Again, he's been crystal balled to Miami. He's taking a visit this weekend to South Florida as well. So, I just love seeing that, man. Seeing McPherson and Merritt help out this early on, it's clear that those 2 guys in Hilo are locked in. They're boys.
Yes. Would you say he's Mario Cristobal to Miami?
Bro, how long was you thinking about that, bro? I know you gave that some thought.
In the last 30 seconds, maybe?
Hey, that's hilarious.
Speaking of recruiting photos.
Yeah.
Did you see the one that came out of the East today this weekend? The East of here?
I think somebody tagged this, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got Texas rolling out the Lambos.
Yeah.
Which I think Colorado might have been the first to do. You've got, schools doing everything they can to try to seem cool to these kids for these photos. And then you have our friends over there in Lincoln, Nebraska.
You gonna pull it up?
Matt Rule. I'm trying to find it. Matt Rule posing with their recruits on a tractor in a cornfield.
That's what you got to do, man.
There's no way. There's just no way that connects.
There's no way that's moving a high school recruit, an elite high school recruit.
And if
there's just no way.
I don't want them.
No, for real though. Hey, yeah, that was crazy, bro. I feel like we're going down the slippery slope with these visit photos. Like it's just gonna get crazier and crazier until somebody has to step in and like, all right, what are we really doing here?
That's the thing is like, I realize that there's nothing cool about Nebraska, but I at least try.
And they didn't try, clearly, because that's crazy.
It is crazy.
But speaking of Texas, there was one final visitor, the fourth visitor this past weekend. His name is, no photos of him, but his name is Hayward Howard Jr., cornerback, 6'2", 175 pounds from New Orleans, Edna Carr High School. He is committed to Texas. He has been since May, but he was in Colorado this past weekend for a visit as the Buffs recruiting staff tries to flip him. So a couple of flip targets. Obviously, Howard there from Texas trying to flip the offensive lineman Xavier Payne from Florida State as well. So this is a big time. But
did you say Hayward Howard?
Hayward Howard.
That is sick.
Junior.
Hey, how?
Shout out to him. We're going to take our second break here. Get into some other stuff on the other side of this break. But first off,
I can lead us off with a shout out to our friends over at Toyota. Best in the business. I can't say enough things about my Toyota. You guys have heard me talk about it forever, but it's been a while now. Like, I've said so many times that I've never had to take my Toyota in. I've been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
Still true. Still true. I've never had to take my Toyota into the shop. It's a fantastic vehicle, and it's so nice to have the peace of mind of being able to trust your vehicle. Like all things in life, whether it's relationships, whether it's products, whether it's brands, companies, you just want something that you can trust. And I always have full confidence in my Toyota to get me where I need to go with no problems at all. So shout out to our friends over at Toyota. If you're looking for a Toyota, you want a car that you can trust, visit a Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation, Arapahoe Toyota and Centennial, Corbin Toyota and Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of CU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR.
And shout out to our good friends, our squad over at Raising Cane's. Y'all already know how I feel about Raising Cane's. I'm rocking with Raising Cane's. Head on your next summer road trip. Why don't y'all order some Raising Cane's right at raisingcanes.com or on the Cane's mobile app to satisfy your chicken finger fix in a snap. At Raising Cane's, every single chicken finger is hand battered and cooked to order. All the crinkle cut fries are crispy and perfectly salted, and all those Texas toasts are buttered to perfection. You can mash it all up, put it together with that beautiful cane sauce that's made in a restaurant each day for a nice little sandwich. Are you hungry yet? If so, get your order ready today at Cane's and keep the road trip going. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. Shout out to Cane's.
Shout out to Cane's. Shout out to my guy, Alpine Garage Sports, in the comments saying, RK, I have a piece of Folsom Field for you.
What a guy.
I don't know if you saw this, but he posted that he showed up when they were digging up the field.
Really?
And just asked if he could have a piece.
Go crazy.
And he got a piece of the field. So
what a legend.
That would be absolutely legendary. Yeah, thank you.
Bro, people really love you, bro. Do you be feeling the love when you outside, bro? You know what I'm saying?
I do, man. It's
what a guy.
It means a lot. If you don't like that, this job isn't for you, because it's by far the best part.
I have to agree, my guy. Have to agree.
What did I say that was bad?
Yeah, I don't know. But
crazy.
I tweeted this on Friday before our show, but just as we're talking about recruiting here, Colorado is really in the mix for like a handful of elite guys. And these aren't even guys who I've mentioned here today, but Shedeur Morgan, 5-star receiver. Colorado's in his top 6. Preston Ashley, who we talked about last week, 4-star cornerback. Colorado's in his top 3. Deacon Schmidt, Colorado's in his top 3. Jordan Deck, a 4-star safety, top 4 for Colorado. Rodney Colton, a 4-star linebacker. Colorado's in the top 5. Manoa Fapuso, we talked about, Colorado's in their top 5. Like, this 2026 recruiting class has the potential to like be program changing, like program altering. And in fact, I think the biggest reason why I feel confident in this recruiting class kind of living up to maybe some of the expectations that some people are putting on it is because you have the head of the snake in tow. The head of the snake is Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. And for 2026 and beyond, it's also Julian Lewis.
Yep.
You have your quarterback of the future. You have your head coach of the future, both of whom are locked down for the foreseeable future. And if you're an elite high school recruit, like that has to be, if not the top 2 boxes to check, have to be 2 of the top 3 or 4 or 5. Do you have a head coach who, you know, I can trust and I can believe is going to push this program in the right direction? Do I have a quarterback in place who can help push this offense, this program to the next level? Both those boxes are checked here at Colorado. So again, whether you're a Shedeur Morgan or one of these elite blue chip offensive linemen, or maybe one of these guys, these Polynesians from out there on the West Coast, like Colorado has become a destination where you want to be, because from top down, it is a much different place in a better way in every way imaginable than it was just a couple years ago.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot when referencing the NFL, but I talk about like the 4 pillars of a franchise and how they all have to be aligned for the franchise to stand up straight. And it's ownership, GM, coach, quarterback.
Yeah.
If you look at the teams that have consistent success, the dynasties, whatever you want to look at, they always have those 4 in line. You know, the best example, unfortunately, right now would probably be the Chiefs, who have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and their GM and their ownership.
For sure.
They've been on the same page. Everyone is aligned. The Eagles, who won the Super Bowl last year. Mm-hmm. It's Jalen Hurts, it's Nick Sirianni, it's Howie Roseman, it's Jeffrey Lurie.
Yep.
They're a team. They're not pushing and pulling in different directions.
Facts.
The Nuggets would be the opposite of that, right? They had a coach and a GM that were pulling in different directions. Well, you have those 2 pillars going the wrong way, the whole building collapses. And that's what happened.
100%.
With college, it's a little different, but you can kind of see the vision with Colorado. Now that you have Coach Prime and Juju as the future of those 2 positions.
Yeah.
And then you have Rick George, who's obviously in alignment. Even now with the president, you have a president who believes in sports, who is a supporter of Rick George and a supporter of Coach Prime and a supporter of the program. You combine all those things, like it's a powerful force that gets everyone's sails moving in the same direction. It's the best way to move forward.
That has to be. And that's all. I want to say Cowherd was doing this for the NFL, where he was ranking head coach quarterback combos in the NFL. And like I've talked about this extensively. That's really how I look at football a lot of the times. Do I trust the head coach? Do I trust the quarterback? And Colorado is in a situation, again, really talking about 2026 and beyond. How many programs are going to have a better quarterback head coach combo than Colorado with Coach Prime and Deion Sanders? Again, 2026. It's got to be a short list. And again, that's going to be somebody in Juju's case who really has his entire college football career ahead of him still. And that's going to be exciting for, again, the next handful of years on the recruiting side, on the transfer portal side of things. And that is just a place you want to be. It's something I thought about too. Like Coach Prime, arguably the best thing he's done for this program from my standpoint is just not allow fans to ever really worry about the most important position on the field, because that's quarterback. He's taken care of that 100 times out of 100 times since he's been here in Boulder, Colorado. Whether it's Shedeur, whether it's Caden, whether it's Juju, fans don't got to worry about the quarterback position being, up to standard. And that is something that a lot of, football programs in the NFL, in college, struggle with. And as a fan, that's just got to be so frustrating when the most important position on the team you just have no trust in. And it's a problem Colorado fans. It's a problem Colorado football fans don't have, and that's largely due to Coach Prime, and that's going to continue to pay off dividends.
It's crazy thinking about like this quarterback competition and how excited I am for it versus some of the quarterback competitions of years past.
Right, yeah.
That were just like, okay, you got this guy and it's kind of a prayer and he was like a washout transfer from another school, but he had a high rating. You got this guy who like played in a game last year and he was okay. Like there's never a solid ground at the position. And I've told this story before, but I'll tell it a million times. I used to turn on Jake Haener in Fresno State and just be like, how can they get him?
Yeah.
And we've missed like 20 years in a row.
For sure.
You know, I remember we lost to Sacramento State my freshman year of college.
Oh, my.
And like the Sacramento State quarterback was out there balling. And I was like, I'll trade him for our guy right now, straight up. How did we not? How is he at Sacramento State? And we had like,
that's crazy to think about.
It's a crazy feeling. And I just remember turning on college football like every weekend and just being like, everyone's quarterback situation is better than ours.
That's
and it
crazy.
is a beautiful thing to be out of that darkness. So thank you, Coach Prime, for that.
No doubt. No doubt about it. And another reason why high school recruiting is going to be at a premium here in 2026 and beyond, I feel like, is because of, you know, the new house settlement that came down and some of the stuff that's come out of it. This was from Friday. Transfer buyouts are going to be a thing now, bro. It's going to cost you to get a transfer from another school. It's going to actually quite literally cost you about $100,000. So this is from Pete Nako's courtesy of NCAA, you know, FAQ, frequently asked questions that they kind of put out. 36-page FAQ from the NCAA coming out of ALLCITY, the house settlement. But this example, talking about transfers, it goes, student athlete, this is just an example, right? So a student attends institution A, and that student athlete's agreement with institution A includes $100,000 annual payment. $50,000 is paid at the beginning of the academic year. $50,000 is paid at the end of the year. Say student A transfers to institution B before that second payment is made. So that second payment from the first school doesn't have to be paid anymore. But institution B has to pay the buyout to institution A on behalf of the student athlete. So it's going to literally cost you bread to get somebody out of the transfer portal.
So that would be $50,000, right? In that case?
No, it's a $100,000 buyout. So the school A, the $50,000, they just don't have to pay that second $50,000 payment, obviously, because you know, he's not a part of your school anymore. But and then that $100,000 buyout counts against institution B's benefits cap allowance in the year in which it is paid to institution A. So that's coming out of your cap.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's maybe potentially a way to maybe slow down.
I was going to say, you see what's happening here, right?
And it might work.
Yeah. So because of the legal side of things, the NCAA found themselves in a place where they could no longer tell students the rules of transferring, right?
Yep.
It used to be if you transfer, you have to sit out. Well, they lost that one. So now you don't have to sit out when you transfer. It used to be you could only transfer once for free. Then you had to get a waiver. Mm-hmm. Then they ruled you can't do that either because you don't have that type of control over them. So then they said, okay, you can transfer as many times as you want. The NCAA lost their control over the players.
Sure did.
They are now back channeling this to make the transfer portal a little less inviting and make it so it's even less likely that you find a landing spot if you aren't how can I put this? A truly valuable player. So if you go to a school as a high-priced freshman and you flame out, you're going to have this number attached to your name that if you go into the transfer portal, that they're going to have to pay that. Mm-hmm. And less schools are going to be interested in doing that.
Hell yeah.
So instead of policing the players, they're now policing the schools. And in turn, it's going to make the transfer portal a much scarier place than it is right now. At least that's, I think, the thought behind it.
I think you're right, because, I mean, at this point, it's pretty willy-nilly.
Yep.
You can hop in and out, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Spend 1 year, even spend a semester at a school and leave right after. But now schools are going to have a little extra to think about when they want to bring somebody in. Do we want to potentially pay, you know, this player to, you know, what you're going to have to pay them from a NIL revenue share plus their buyout, that might not be something that a lot of schools are going to be willing to do on a case-by-case basis, especially if it's a player who, you're counting on more so projection than production or where they've showed in their previous school.
Now, I do wonder if, because a lot of these transfers these days are encouraged to enter the transfer portal.
Yeah.
So I do wonder if there's an option in there where it's like, we will release the buyout if you go into the portal.
That's interesting, Greg, because that happens, right? Sometimes you get asked to peace out.
Yes, especially after coaching changes.
Right. That's interesting. But yeah, another wrinkle to the transfer kind of situation with the new house settlement coming down. But we're going to move on. What's up?
You're just going to see, this is going to, over time, I don't know if it's going to happen immediately, it's going to, over time, really cut down on portal entries.
I can see that
because
for sure.
more and more guys are going to get left in the portal.
Most definitely. New mate, bro. Mate 2.0 is making his presence felt, I heard in Boulder. Damon Greaves, Colorado's new punter.
Demon Greaves.
It's funny you say that, too, because that is something that quite literally Coach Swayze called Damon Greaves this past weekend. Again, Colorado's new punter, who has been named new mate by Coach Prime, transferred over from Kansas.
So creative, that Coach Prime.
He really is. But obviously, Colorado is in the midst of its summer strength and conditioning program. The squad is getting after it. And Damon Greaves, new mate, is certainly getting after it. I mean, I'm talking about they're running sprints, and Damon Greaves is up there with Cam Michael, the fastest player on the team.
Sheesh.
Like, ahead of some of the quarterbacks, like leading the pack as a punter. And again, Coach Swayze was impressed. Go check the Bucky's new video. But
if you're a skill position player, you better not be getting beat by a new mate.
Swayze goes, mate don't mess around. Mate is a man-child. He is like Iron Man. He is a demon. Yes. He is animal-like. That's
Demon
what
Greaves.
Damon Greaves. So, and this is something I didn't know either. Damon Greaves apparently played in the Australia Football League, which is pretty much rugby. It is literally
Aussie
rugby.
rules football, right? I think
I don't know. I saw some gameplay and it just looked like rugby.
Yeah.
It seemed like a different ball, like a smaller ball, but everything else looked exactly like rugby.
Electric sport, by the way.
So he's catching passes and tackling folks and running with the football. Like Damon Greaves is an athlete. You know what I'm saying? And obviously he has a boot as well, but that could potentially be a wrinkle special teams wise that Damon Greaves could potentially unlock because again he's an athlete. He can move with the ball in his hand. So I would love to see new special teams coach Michael Pollock potentially draw up some creative ways to just keep drives alive on fourth down with some fakes and stuff because I think Damon Greaves could potentially his athleticism could be utilized in that aspect.
Question for the folks who followed Coach Prime from Jackson State. Do you guys remember any special teams trick plays during that time? And the reason I bring that up is because we have not seen it at Colorado.
Right.
I do not believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not believe we've seen a single special teams trick play from the Buffs since Coach Prime got here. So I'm curious if he's open to it. The big thing I think that he would have said last year, and I've said this on the show before, is like, if I'm going for it on fourth down, I'm putting the ball in Shedeur's hands.
Yeah. And I think that was probably literally his thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious with no Shedeur and no slight to either of the quarterbacks, but I'm curious if he'll be a little more open to potentially using the demon himself on some fakes.
No, that would be that'd be dope. And obviously, his main job is to punt the football. And over the last 2 seasons, 21 games played as the primary punter for Kansas, 40 yards per punt. 40.6 yards per punt on 65 punts. So I think he's going to do a good job punting and potentially add something else, which would be awesome.
Everyone in the comments saying they do not remember a special teams trick play.
Yeah, I don't either. But maybe that means we're due. Maybe that means we're due for one. Going to some NFL buffs, Shedeur Sanders in particular. Mini camp is over. It's this, kind of
off season.
Yeah, the off season for real, until things really get going for training camp and whatnot. But Myles Garrett was out at some event. I don't even know where he was at this weekend, but he was asked about his new QB1, Shedeur Sanders, and one of the best defensive players in the entire football, future Hall of Famer for sure.
Yep.
Had this to say about Shedeur Sanders.
I think everyone was surprised to see him go to the 5th round, but he's come to camp and OTAs are a bit attitude. He's a hardworking guy. He has a good head on his shoulders, and he's always positive, always optimistic, always keeps a smile on his face, and you like going to work with people who have that kind of attitude.
Earning it.
Yep.
From the mouth of, again, the franchise player of the Cleveland Browns, certainly their highest paid player, one of the best players in the entire NFL, is impressed with how Shedeur is handling his business early on, with obviously a lot of spotlight on him, a lot of mess that kind of preceded, him arriving in Cleveland. But that is not surprising to hear Myles Garrett being impressed with kind of just Shedeur's his acumen and the way he's carrying himself as a young guy. And I heard somebody say this today. I forget who it was. I think it was somebody in Cleveland. I forget. But and I agree, and I think it's something we might have touched on here the last couple week or two. But the way Cleveland is setting up this quarterback camp, when Shedeur eventually wins the job, nobody's going to be able to say he was handed anything.
Yeah.
Because that was a loud complaint from people at Jackson State, at Colorado. Well, his dad's a coach, But there's not going to be any room for anybody to say that he was given anything in Cleveland when it comes to the Browns quarterback competition. He will have earned every single opportunity he will get, and he's going to make the most of it. And that's kind of where I'm at with it right now.
Absolutely. And might I add that summer break has started for NFL players.
Yeah.
Most guys get out of town, go to a tropical island or a beach somewhere and relax. And that's not to say that Shedeur won't do this eventually, but that's not what he was doing this weekend.
Facts.
This weekend he was out in the community doing what he does best, which is connecting with the kids and,
he was keeping his word this weekend. That's what he was doing.
Yeah, but he really embraces the city that he's in and the youth that live there,
especially.
And he has a profound impact on young people. Even high schoolers, which we saw in Boulder. We've seen it in other places that he's gone, but I mean, we saw him go to my high school, and kids were damn near fainting, like the old videos of when the Beatles showed up. They were losing their minds for Shedeur, and he just really connects with the younger generation for sure. And it's just really cool to see the people of Cleveland start to realize what happened in Boulder that made everyone love him so much. And I saw someone tweet something along those lines, which is just man, Shedeur really is one of those ones. And I understand why Buffs fans are so obsessed with him.
Because he's a star who doesn't really carry himself like one in intimate settings or in a team setting or around, people who he's comfortable with, or even sometimes people he's not, super comfortable with. And that's, I think, the biggest misconception about Shedeur is because they see him as this star and they assume that he's a certain way. And my dad always used to say, what happens when you assume,
Yep.
We don't like to do that. So, I'm excited for this training camp battle and everything to officially get going, because I think we know how it's going to end up.
Amen. Speaking of your pops, happy belated Father's Day.
Happy
Mr.
Father's
Procter.
Day. Yes, sir. Likewise to yours as well.
Thank you.
Hell yeah. Hit that like button, y'all. Drop us a super chat if you haven't already. We're going to talk to the people in the chat here. What's poppin'?
Gerardo, is Aloha Buffs run by Chico Cleveland? That was confirmed no by Aloha Buffs himself. Bandwagon Browns. Did you hear the Tony Grossi diss track?
Did you?
I didn't open it. I saw it in the group chat, but I did not open it yet.
Yeah, it was something. It was a diss track, all right.
Who produced it?
The same individual who has been producing the last ones. It's the same, yeah. Denner got enough for like a mixtape at this point. You know what I'm saying? He got a handful of tracks.
Get him on Spotify.
Oh man.
SN Services wants to know, is Oscar Rios coming this Friday?
I do not know. I think that
was what was reported a while ago.
Correct. And according to 24/7, at least his page on 24/7, he is still slated to visit here next weekend, and he's slated the following week to announce his commitment. So he's making a decision here in about 2 weeks.
All right.
And if Colorado ends up being his final visit, that could potentially mean something.
Yep. I like Oscar Rios. I think he's a dog.
So am I. And Elite 11 actually is going on right now, the Elite 11 finals, and he was named as one of the top performers from the first day or two as well. So he is continuing his really strong summer out here on the camp circuit.
Last one's from Carlton, who says, did you guys see what the Cleveland Browns quarterback coach said about Shedeur?
I did not.
I didn't either.
I'm sure it was positive because it's obviously Coach Prime's old teammate, one of Coach Prime's good friends.
Has not the best press conferences I've ever seen.
Really?
But my favorite quote probably of a press conference. He said, ball placement is outstanding now. If we can get a tight end to catch it.
Huh.
Interesting.
I don't know what the...
Maybe it was like a mic'd up thing that was overheard. But I've told this story, I think, once before. But when Bill Musgrave was the offensive coordinator of the Broncos...
I didn't know he was.
Yeah, he was.
Oh.
He was actually the offensive coordinator of the Raiders the year that Derek Carr almost won MVP.
Oh, wow.
So then the Broncos bring him in, and there's like a lot of fussing about them needing to run the ball more.
Interesting.
And like the week before, I think they had run the ball for like 5 yards per carry.
Uh-huh.
And he got pressed on it, and then he answered, and he got pressed on it again, and then he answered, and then he got pressed on it the third time. And if you need to use the bleep button here, go for it. But he goes, yes, we're going to run the ball. I second the motion. I second the fucking motion.
Second the motion is hilarious. Like, I agree with you, Joe. It's the next person to ask me about that. Get smacked.
It was elite.
Hey, no, that's, I don't really know what he was talking about with the tight end there, but Njoku could potentially like really be big for Shedeur's development. And even some of the rookie minicamp, like the tight end Trey McKitty seemed like a very popular target of Shedeur just in minicamp and whatnot. And that was something that we heard from our guy Thomas Dimitrov at the Super Bowl, former Atlanta Falcons GM, that one of the best things you can do for a young quarterback in terms of their development is get them a reliable pass-catching tight end. The Cleveland Browns have one of the best in the NFL in that, and David Njoku. And obviously, Dimitrov did that for Matt Ryan back in the day. Drafted Matt Ryan. The next offseason, traded for Tony Gonzalez.
Yep.
And obviously, they ended up going on to make a Super Bowl. But, that's one of the best things I think you can do for Shedeur. And I think that is something that's going to help his development.
Amen. What are you guys thinking about the new turf?
Do we got a photo of that? I think we had a photo of that. Look, we can maybe pull up here.
So... new turf looks crispy.
Looks fire, bro.
But most importantly, the hill is back.
Yes.
It has been repainted, and it looks so sick
really
with the
does.
Colorado right above the Buffaloes.
So fire.
It looks great. I'm very into this, and I'm very into the black end zones.
Those end zones are so fire.
Yep.
Like I said it last week, I love the alternating greens on the yard lines, too. It's going to look so much better on TV. Players are going to be flying out there on the field as well. I'm excited. This is beautiful stuff.
It's funny because someone was complaining to me about the alternating greens. They said they didn't like it.
Come on.
And then I went and found a picture of the actual grass. It had the alternating.
See, people are just complaining about it.
Exactly. What was the last thing I was going to say here? Oh, rest of Spirit Week.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have the graphic of what we're doing the rest of this week? Cool. We'll get to that in a second. We're also going to be hitting overtime in just a few seconds here. So if you're not watching if you are watching on your TV, then just flip over to thednvr.com to watch the end of the show. But we got the rest of Spirit Week coming up. And I should mention that right now I believe we're doing, is it 30 or 35% off in the store? 30% off in the store. And someone commented earlier, they said they got this shirt and a hoodie for $35.
Stop. That's a crazy deal.
It's a crazy deal. So here's what we got going on the rest of the week. Tomorrow is Mystery Guest Day.
Yeah.
And I believe it's a mystery to everyone who the mystery guest is going to be at this point.
We'll all be surprised.
But there will be a mystery guest, and Scott and I are not going to know at any point who it's going to be.
Period.
So someone's going to pop up tomorrow, and we're going to have to showcase our journalistic skills to be able to interview someone on the spot with no prep. Something we would never do any other time. Wednesday, we got Musical Chairs Day. We're going to bring someone from a different show onto our show, and maybe if one of us gets the invite, we'll be on someone else's show. And then bring that back for 1 second. Sorry. Thursday is Big Brothers Big Sisters Day. We've already told you guys about the big involvement they're having in this week and the goals that we have for raising money for them this week.
Yep.
And they'll be even more involved on Thursday. And then Friday is Die Hard Day, where we're going to have you guys have the opportunity to call in to the show.
I'm excited for that one.
I'm scared. I'm scared. But if you want to do that, you have to be a DNVR diehard.
Yeah, link
So
with
make
us.
sure you become a diehard over at thednvr.com and hop in the Discord so you get your opportunity to join the show on Friday. And please keep it PG.
Swear.
2 donations today. Anonymous and
Don Peasy with a donation to Big Brothers Big Sisters shout out, and we also had one more anonymous donation today. So keep hitting that donate button all week. We're going to raise a ton of money for Big Brothers Big Sisters. Love you guys. See you soon. Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.